Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to another episode of the Exotical Storytime series. If you want to hear more of these story times, please let me know in the comment section. Also, if you have a story that you would like to be shared on this channel, please email me at exoticalsunited@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and get into it. This girl says, "Hi, Exoticals United. I've been a subscriber for close to a year now, and I want to thank you for the platform. A lot of us are feeling seen. We cannot all be crazy. My experiences with offhand comments and gaslighting go back to childhood, but I wanted to share a story that happened just last month. A quick backstory: I am a lighter skinned biracial woman. I am half Mexican and half black, and I resemble the Maury twins by way of skin color and their natural hair texture. I have always identified as mixed or biracial because A, it's true, and B, my parents always made sure I was aware of both cultures that I came from, because it's a part of me and who I am and something I should be proud of. This story takes place at work. I work in the office of a construction company, and my position allows for our field workers to come to my office and speak with me if they need to. So it's not uncommon that I am communicating with people who are not in administrative positions. When I first got the job, one of the employees who is Asian kept calling me Chantel. My name is not Chantel, and I would politely correct him and tell him, actually, my name is blank. It only lasted the first few interactions with him, and shortly after that, he corrected himself and got my name right. One day I was chatting with this same employee, and he was telling me about his culture, traditions, where his family came from, etc. During this conversation, after talking about his cultural background, he asked me about mine. I didn't bring this up at all. I then tell him that I am mixed, half black and half Mexican. He looks surprised, asks me which parent is Mexican. I tell him my mom is Mexican and my dad is black. He proceeds to tell me, so you're black? If your dad is black, then you're black. It's so funny how people try to do that talking point where it's like, you are the seed of your father. That's so silly to me. But let's continue. She says, I chuckle and correct him, telling him that I am mixed, biracial, or multicultural, whichever he wants to settle with. But I am not black and don't identify as such. I identify as mixed. I am not anti-black at all, and I do not deny my blackness because I am black passing. Exactly. Acknowledging your other cultural backgrounds and acknowledging your other racial backgrounds, it's not denying your blackness. All you're saying is, I am black and something else. But let's continue. She says, I am light-skinned with curly hair and get very golden under the sun, more like Chili's complexion. I merely identify with what I truly am, which is mixed or biracial. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for teaching me to be true to my background. Yeah, I've noticed that whenever you say you're mixed race, people think that you're trying to go against blackness somehow. But being mixed is not excluding blackness. Being mixed is actually including your blackness, and you're including the other parts of your background. So then he says, well, that's why I kept calling you Chantel when you first started here. I thought you were black. Okay, but just because you think that someone is something, it doesn't mean that it's true. The world doesn't revolve around you. Like, this is the part that really gets on my nerves sometimes with mono people, whether they're monoracial or monocultural of any race. It's like, just because you perceive somebody as being one particular race, that doesn't mean it's correct. So just because you stereotype them as only being monoracially black, kind of like how they did with Chili, that doesn't mean that that's actually how she sees herself. And I've noticed that a lot of people get mad when they can't control your own self-perception. But let's continue. She says, I am appalled by this because that's just rude. He decides to call me by a name that he associates with blackness on purpose after I told him my real name in the first place. Then tries to police what I am and how I identify when he hardly knows me at all. I told him that was a effed up thing to say and to not stereotype people because he wouldn't want that done to him. If I turned around and called him Chung Lee of Jackie Chan, that would be the same thing. He disagrees and says, no, that's different. So I'm like, okay, well, have a good day. I don't have anything against the guy. His ignorance is his problem, not mine. I didn't take too much offense to it because I am confident in my skin and I know who the hell my parents and grandparents are. My family is deeply rooted in northern Mexico and in the south. He could hardly offend me as he himself is an overweight, unhealthy man who is in his mid-30s and suffers from a number of health issues. You can literally hear him coming because he's an avid mouth breather and can hardly catch a breath. No exaggeration here. Exoticals United, I wish I could hug you, girl. There's finally a channel where I feel more included and inclined to listen to. Like you, I was a big fan of Chrissy's some years back, but when it came to light skin topics and gaslighting, I felt awkward and misrepresented. I finally found your channel and I'm hooked. I'm also using your tips for leveling up and collecting that exotical tax. Many blessings to you. XOXO. Yes, I used to be a major fan of Chrissy to the point where I was going on her live streams, giving money. But then once I realized that they put all mixed race women in a box and they put lighter skinned women in a box, or even darker skinned women who look mixed, then I realized that this is not the platform for me. And I noticed they all called us by this silly name, Exotical. And so that's actually where I got this channel name from and where I got this concept from. So anybody who disagrees with my talking points, they don't realize that they're actually disagreeing with the Black women empowerment content creators who they're supporting. So all of my talking points are actually based on Black women empowerment content creators, and my oppositional points are based on the original points that they said. So if they call us all exoticals, then guess what? I'm going to call us all exoticals, and now we're going to create our own space then. You said get out of your spaces, so we are getting out of your spaces and creating our own. But I've noticed that sometimes when people try to argue about your race, I have noticed that some people, they want to be able to approximate you to them, or sometimes they want to be right about you. Like, for example, maybe that guy dates Black women, and because you're attractive, he wants to associate you more with Blackness. But the funny thing is, why are mono people so obsessed with how we identify ourselves? And why is it that mono people of all races get offended when we don't identify ourselves based on how they stereotype us? A lot of people don't realize that when you are mixed, sometimes you look more like one part of your ancestry and other times you look like another part of your ancestry. But people who aren't mixed, they don't understand that because it's like you're not mixed. You just look unambiguous monoracial regardless of the time of year, regardless of what hair color you do. But if you're a person who has a mixed background, yes, sometimes you look more Black, sometimes you look more white, sometimes you resemble more of your Latin American ancestry, maybe you have more of an indigenous look. And I've just noticed that a lot of people don't understand that because they are monoracial and also monocultural, so they're not used to encountering someone with a fluid identity. But what do you ladies think? Has this ever happened to you? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.